Buenos dias, buenos dias. Today, I want to talk about what's probably one of the least obvious narratives in crypto that in my view is inevitably going to blow up sometime this cycle, as it always did historically. And that narrative is ZK and privacy. We're also now entering a new generation of privacy projects that enable also compliant privacy, which is a whole new vertical that potentially finally fills the gap between what privacy should do, which is empowering the individual, and on the other hand, what regulation allows. In today's video, I want to walk you through some of the early days of the privacy industry, the OG of all privacy coins, Monero, and we're also going to be talking about the new generation of privacy projects like Aleph Zero, which is also our content partner and our research partner, and we've been working on this video in collaboration with them, as well as some other promising projects that are also in the Cosmos ecosystem. I remember in 2018, I was at a crypto conference in South Korea in Seoul. And at that conference, I met Riccardo Spagni, aka Fluffy Pony, who is one of the lead engineers at Monero. And I asked him, why do you think that privacy is going to have a future in the crypto industry? Why do you think it's relevant? And his response was very simple, but very powerful. And he just said that privacy is a human right. It's our right to decide on what we want to share, what we want to show others, what we want to publish, right? It should not be in anyone's interest, neither the government, no other people, to be able to see our wealth, right? And in this era of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, which is native to the internet, I think it's even more so important to build technologies that empower the people and give the power to the people to decide what they want to publicly share and what they want to keep for themselves, what they want to keep private, right? And I think this is something very important because privacy most of the times is just, talked about in connection to any kind of malicious activities, but that's not actually the privacy that is going to be big. That's not actually the privacy that we're talking about also in today's video, right? Now, if you have interacted so far in the blockchain industry with cryptocurrencies and all these coins, there's a 99% chance that your transaction has been tracked and recorded and is publicly viewable for anyone in the world, right? That's just this public by default kind of ecosystem that we're currently in the crypto space, which obviously makes it super easy to audit and for any sort of tax purposes and those kind of things. But also it makes you vulnerable, right? Because everyone can just see what you do, what you have, especially if you're a public figure, right? People can just, trace down what you're doing on chain, right? Which also has downsides, obviously also has upsides at the same time. But some people might just not want to share their on-chain activities publicly, right? So why privacy is important? Number one, financial privacy. Nobody wants their bank account and financial activities or records to be exposed to other people without consent, right? And I think this is really a basic human right. Number two, business operation. Enterprises don't want competitors to gain insights from their on-chain activity. Very, very important stuff. Number three, we also talk here about identity and personal data protection, right? We're not only talking about how much money you have. Like, people probably don't even care about that, right? But what about your personal sensitive information, personal data, right? This is also a very important point because the transparent nature of blockchains allow identifying patterns of your usage and of your also personality of your own behavior, right? There's even researchers that identify individuals and where they live, like the actual physical location, simply based on their on-chain activities, on their on-chain transactions. And also, blockchains just offer pseudonymity. Once your identity is uncovered, all your transactions are traced back to the very first day you started using crypto. I think those are very solid points to make a case that privacy is an important pillar of what we're doing, right? Also kind of dates back to the roots of the cypherpunk movement, the origins of Bitcoin itself, and all these kind of things. And although privacy projects like Tornado Cash or Monero have been hit hard by regulatory pressures, right? We obviously know the story about a Tornado Cash developer who is, as of my understanding, right now sitting in jail. We also have a Monero XMR that has been delisted from most centralized exchanges. So centralized platforms are really under kind of regulatory scrutiny here. That only shows that privacy is getting more and more important, right? It's probably the most important that it has ever been in our history. Now, let's talk about some of the OG projects. Obviously, Monero, number one, the OG king of privacy coins, was created in 2014, and unlike the majority of other cryptocurrencies, which are based on transparency or public by default, Monero offers a different approach by upholding the ideals of anonymity. Similar to Bitcoin, Monero relies on proof of work mining, so it's a POW chain that achieves distributed consensus. And unlike other competitors, some of which aren't even competitors because they aren't as private as they claim to be, but unlike most competitors, Monero is the only major cryptocurrency in which every user is anonymous by default. In Monero, transactions are confidential and untraceable by using a technology called ring signatures and stealth addresses. Ring signatures basically hide the sender's identity by mixing their signature with those of other network participants, while stealth addresses add another layer of privacy by generating a one-time address for each transaction, protecting both sender and receiver from having their transactions linked to their public addresses. In the Monero system, there's really no way to track the sender, the amount of XMR they were sent, or the receiver. Even the sender won't be able to know how many tokens the receiver has. And this is a very, very powerful technology, which is why there's also this hardcore Monero community, because they just fundamentally believe in this principle. And that goes back to the story I told about meeting Fluffy Pony. This is really a basic human right. Now, we also have other contenders like Dash, for example. Dash was also launched in 2014 as a fork of Bitcoin with a mixing service that makes it harder to detect the receiver. Dash transactions are unmixed by default though. And there was also kind of reports that came out by Chainalysis, which basically said that 99% of the transaction activity on Dash, as well as Zcash, which is another kind of privacy contender that was launched in 2016, also as a Bitcoin fork with a different hashing algorithm and built-in security protocols. But both Dash and Zcash can be tracked down, so they're not as private as it seems. And another downside of Zcash is that it has very long transaction times, around 20 minutes for a transaction to reach confirmation. And besides the regulatory pressure, delistings from centralized exchanges, and some of these privacy coins not actually being as private as they claim to be, you also have the fact that OG coins require transactions to be made in their own native volatile tokens, plus they do not really have any sort of smart contract capability to support other tokens or decentralized applications. That's why now we're looking into some of the recent kind of newer generation of privacy projects and some of the also upcoming ones, right? There was actually a nice report here from CoinGecko and a nice chart and an overview, which basically shows kind of the development of privacy coins and privacy projects over the time. And it really shows that privacy coins have lost 44% of their market share to privacy blockchains since 2021. Newer projects like Oasis Network, Secret Network, and Aleph Zero have shifted toward building next-generation privacy blockchains with smart contract capabilities and regulatory considerations. That means that basically we have a new generation of smart contract platforms that enable privacy by default while still being regulatory compliant and accessible for external auditing, which is super important, but only based on the consent of the owner of that private information that is stored on that chain. And pretty much all of these newer generation privacy projects are not only proof of stake based networks, but also use one of these technologies to ensure privacy: ZK proofs, trusted execution environments, or secured multi-part computation. Each of these methods possesses different use cases, limitations, and technical specifications. For example, Secret Network and Oasis both use the Cosmos stack and trusted execution environments. This approach has low computation cost, however, require specific hardware to run on and could leak data due to T vulnerabilities. Most of the newer chains that are about to launch, like Namada, Penumbra, or even Aleo, use zero-knowledge proofs. This method does not require specific hardware to run, but it lacks standardization. And Aleph Zero, which is now in mainnet for 2 years, utilizes both ZK proofs but also MPC to ensure privacy for its users, and they then use also ZK snarks for speed and limited privacy, and MPC when users need stringent privacy. The Aleph Zero chain itself is built using Substrate, which is basically native to the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem, and their consensus is the Aleph BFT, which is a proof of stake consensus. They are not a parachain on Kusama or Polkadot. They're basically their standalone Layer 1 blockchain. They're basically an app chain for compliant privacy while also being super fast and having smart contract capability. The time to finality is actually 0.9 seconds, so sub-second finality. But of course, we also know that this is not enough. For a cryptocurrency project to be actually successful, it also requires having a lively community, an engaged and active community, right? Actual contributors, content creation. It needs to have adoption in terms of developers actually building out applications, integrations, liquidity, right? There's like literally 100 different things that a cryptocurrency project needs to have in order to become successful. And I've been in touch now with the Aleph Zero team for nearly a year, like literally at the depths of the bear market. And they've not only been building throughout the bear market, but I also think they're coming out of it very strong, right? With an actively engaged community. They also have an ambassador program where people can apply and become basically Aleph Zero ambassadors. They also partnered with CoinGecko for their Learn and Earn platform, and they also got into the Techstars startup program. So a lot of things that they're pushing hard on that end. And also, they have a lot of enterprise partners. Aleph Zero is also modeled on a hub and spoke model, which allows blockchains and businesses to interact with each other in a trust minimized way, efficiently and cheaply, while maintaining their own private networks. So it's basically around also this concept of sovereignty, which really fits into also what Cosmos does and how Cosmos is architectured. And also Aleph Zero focuses a lot on interoperability, right? I remember also the early conversations I had with them was also about eventually someday integrating IBC, Cosmos IBC, to basically also have full interoperability with the Cosmos ecosystem. We also have Centauri, which was pioneered by Picasso Network. That is also an extension of IBC for substrate-based chains. So I think there's some synergies there as well. And Aleph Zero also plans to offer modular privacy, as it's generally complex to build ZK-powered applications. And with Aleph Zero, developers will be able to integrate privacy within their apps much simpler. And I think this is also a huge narrative, like which they can position themselves today, is besides the compliant privacy kind of category, to also focus on modular privacy and see how Aleph Zero could basically offer privacy as a service to other tech stacks in the crypto industry, right? So I really invite you to do your further due diligence and your research from here. Like I said, Aleph Zero is a content partner of us, so you'll hear a lot more about them in the future, also about different use cases, different applications that are launching there. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe and be good.